Kim Hellberg has spoken to the media for the final time before the playoff clash with Southampton, and he may have just dropped a really pleasant hint with regards to Hayden Hackney's fitness.
Downing then. Downing running beyond the fullback. Whips a great looking ball in. Header. Goal! A Seymour Macaroni! And Boro have struck a stick to the heart of Dracula's boys! And it could be Eindhoven time!
Welcome back to Bonkers for Boro. Of course, we're just a couple of days away from this championship playoff semi-final clash against Southampton. Middlesbrough hosting the Saints at the Riverside Stadium on Saturday lunchtime before heading to St Mary's on Tuesday evening for a pivotal encounter which could potentially see Middlesbrough on their way to Wembley Stadium in the hope of securing promotion to the Premier League. Now, of course, the build-up has been bubbling away nicely this week. There's been a lot of hype on social media, fans starting to get into the spirit, the club doing everything they possibly can to get us into the feel-good atmosphere, I guess, for this match. Of course, there's the bus parade going on before the match itself. Middlesbrough are going to be welcoming the home team bus with flares and smoke and chants and that sort of thing. But what we've really been looking for is to hear from Kim Hellberg with a view to this game. He's the man who's going to be leading Middlesbrough in this game. He's the one who's going to be naming the team. So it'll be really interesting to hear what he's had to say going into this encounter. Now, he spoke to the media on Thursday afternoon. It was his pre-match press conference, the last time that he's going to speak before the match against Southampton on a Saturday. And of course, there was one item which was top of the news agenda, and that was the fitness of Hayden Hackney. Now, Hayden Hackney hasn't featured since the home match against Bristol City. That was a match where he just recorded an assist to set up Leo Castledine for his goal against the Robins. It was during that moment that he pulled up with an injury, hobbled off the pitch, and we haven't seen him again since. There's been a lot of speculation about what's going on with him, how severe his injury is. There was talk that he was on the verge of returning, and then that didn't quite happen. There was hope that he was going to play against Millwall after the international break, but that didn't happen. And then speculation more recently has been suggesting that maybe Hayden Hackney's actually played his final game for the club with his injury being worse than we thought. But Kim Hellberg provided a positive injury update on Hayden Hackney in this press conference, opening the door to him being involved against Southampton over the two legs. Now, speaking to the media, he said Hayden's been progressing and he's been back on the grass. If it's possible to have him on the bench on Saturday or Tuesday, we will see. It was a big step forward for him and it's exciting to see what happens. I want him on the pitch. He's a local boy and we're very proud of. We hope it goes quicker and he's back. Now, of course, this is something which is you can't take this too much at face value. He's not confirming that he's going to be in the other squad for the match. He certainly doesn't seem like he's going to be ready to start, particularly the game on Saturday. But this is a massive boost for Middlesbrough. Of course, Hayden Hackney is a player who is so important for Middlesbrough. But more than that, he's been recognised as the best player in the Championship. So having him involved in any way, shape or form would be absolutely massive for Middlesbrough. Now, I don't for one second think that he'll be fit to start on Saturday. He might not even be fit to start on Tuesday, but even the fact that he's back in training, he's back on the grass, it does indicate that he could play some part over these two legs, because ultimately we're now at the stage of the season where it's kind of win or bust for Middlesbrough. We're into the playoffs. If Middlesbrough don't come out on top after these two legs, the season's over. That's it. It probably means that Hayden Hackney's Middlesbrough career is over, because it's widely expected that he's going to be moving on this summer. There's going to be so much interest in his services after what's been a pretty stunning season. Clubs in the Premier League, clubs in the other top divisions around Europe are definitely going to be circling, and they're certainly going to be keen to make a move. Of course, he's only got 1 year left on his contract as well, so that puts Middlesbrough in a slightly vulnerable position with regards to him. So it really is now or never with regards to Hayden Hackney coming back. Now, I'm not saying that we should be reckless. I'm not saying that this is a situation where he needs to be starting both games and we just need to forget about his injury and get him on the pitch at all costs, because that would be reckless. That would be unfair to him. The last thing you want to do is to put him on the pitch and for him to suffer any sort of setback, or for him to be out for a number more months, because ultimately that could scup a summer move. It could be a move that just really backfires in a number of different ways. But I do think that if Hayden Hackney is anywhere near fit, if he's anywhere near available, he's got to play some part, even if that means against Southampton on Saturday being on the bench and only being fit to play 5-10 minutes. That is better than nothing. Even if it means that going to Southampton on Tuesday night, if we're chasing the game or whatever it might be, if he's only fit to play 10-15 minutes, that is better than nothing. We need Hayden Hackney in the squad if he's at all available. Hayden Hackney is a Boro lad. He knows what's at stake here, of course. Getting promoted to the Premier League, it's his dream. He's been on the record saying that it's his dream to guide Middlesbrough to the Premier League, and this is the opportunity to do that. Now, you can't put it all on Hayden Hackney's shoulders. Middlesbrough need more than just Hayden Hackney if we are going to be successful against Southampton and successful in the playoffs as well. But certainly having a player of his quality and his influence involved in some way, shape or form would be absolutely massive. Now, I'd like to see him on the bench on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see whether he is. Like I said, Kim Hellberg hasn't confirmed that he would be, but he has opened the door to that possibility. I do think that we'll see him in the squad for one, if not two, of these two games. Even if he's not available to play on Saturday or available to be in the squad, he may well just make it in time for that match against Southampton. And that could be an absolutely massive boost because he does offer something so different to anybody else in the squad. I know that we've done quite well in the last couple of weeks in terms of our results, but Middlesbrough are a completely different side with Hayden Hackney in the team. And even if he's only 70-80% fit, and like I said, if he's only available to play 10-15 minutes, having him back available would be absolutely brilliant. And I think that would also give Southampton something to worry about because he's that good. He is the best player in the Championship, and so I think if he is available, I think that could really send a pretty scary message to the South Coast, who may be thinking that they can dominate that midfield area. But if Hackney's in and around the squad and he's available to play some part in that game, then they might just think twice about that because he does have the potential to change this tie and tip it in Middlesbrough's favour. Now, Kim Hellberg, of course, was speaking about a number of other things in his press conference. It was a busy one. There was, of course, a lot of media interest in the build-up to what was a massive double-header against Southampton. He was speaking about Riley McGree and praising his performance, saying that he's likely to be available to start this weekend. Of course, he's been injured of late. He came off the bench against Wrexham last weekend. So Middlesbrough have been a little bit cautious with him, but it does sound like he's going to be available to start, which is great news because he, again, is a really important player for Middlesbrough, and I'd love to see him start. I think he has to start if he's fit because he does offer something very different to this Middlesbrough team. Kim Hellberg was also just talking about the build-up to the game and just saying that it's been fun. That was his answer when he's asked how the week's been. It's been a fun week, which is really good because this does have the potential to be quite a stressful environment when you're going into a game of this magnitude. Teams can cower under the pressure. They can be in a situation where they wilt under the spotlight and the scrutiny that comes with a game of this magnitude. But the fact that Kim Hellberg said that it's been quite a fun week, I think the fact that we've had a couple of good results recently is a really positive thing as well. And it sounds like the build-up has been really quite positive. He was glowing in his praise about the other club and their build-up to the game, the promotional stuff, the welcome for the other team bus and stuff. He was saying that if he had his way, he'd be out with the fans enjoying a couple of beers and enjoying that as well. But he'll be doing his duty in the dugout and that sort of thing. So he's really relishing the opportunity and the challenge of doing so. He was also asked if he has dreamed of getting into the Premier League, whether he's had any dreams about the playoffs and what might come next. And he gave a bit of a jokey response saying that his most recent dream was about his hair and his hair falling out, which he said was a scary dream or a terrible dream. So maybe that's just the stress sort of creeping through a little bit with Kim Hellberg, but ultimately he was in a really good form, in a really positive place. He was laughing and joking, someone who looked very calm and very measured going into what is a massive game, and so it'll be really interesting to see what impact that has on the team on Saturday. So as I said, Middlesbrough playing Southampton Saturday lunchtime. I'll be there. I'll be providing match updates with the Red. I'll also be heading to St Mary's with the Red as well. So I'll be there, and there'll be plenty of content going on the channel here from the match, both pre-match, during the match, and post-match as well. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like and hit subscribe as well. Drop into the comments below and let me know how much football you'd like to see Hayden Hackney play in these two games. Even if he's not fully fit, would you still like to see him involved against Southampton? Drop in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And if you have enjoyed, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, and rate and review as well. And I will catch up with you next time.